In the past 14 days, Charlie, silver is up $20 per ounce. If you are participating in this market, you are literally participating in history right now. President Trump saying something like he's asserted himself as acting president of Venezuela for the time being or something like that.
Sure.
And I looked at that and I went to myself, yeah, that's just rocket fuel for precious metals.
Kyle, welcome. Mr. Horn, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to our time that we get to spend together. What do we have in store for today?
Well, Charlie, today is quite historic, actually. I have been saying ad nauseum, we're just in this really crazy bout of volatility with precious metals. Let me tell you something that will just blow your socks off, okay? We'll just fire it right in there. Today is January 14th, 2026. If you're watching this, welcome to the new year. In the past 14 days, Charlie, silver is up $20 per ounce. Of course, we're in the evening time here on January 14th, and I don't know if this is the start of a greater correction, but silver's $87.66, coming down from $92 a little bit earlier today. And gold is $4,590, coming down from about $4,650 earlier today. So we have a lot to talk about. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're back with us here in 2026. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've recorded a podcast episode, uploaded it for everybody. We have, Charlie, a lot to really contemplate here because I think the name of the game going forward from here is the word volatility. We've been very busy here at Bullion Standard. All hands have been on deck. It's been one of the busiest times we've ever remembered. Of course, the action in the market is history, I'll call it. If you are participating in this market, you are literally participating in history right now. This blows the lid off of 1979, 1980, the first precious metals bull market when it peaked out from the manipulation of the Hunt brothers in January 1980 at about $50 per ounce. Of course, we entered that bear market, had another bull market in the 2000s, peaked again at about $50 an ounce for silver, entered the bear market, came out of the bear market in January 2019, and then we are now in the greatest precious metals bull market
of all time.
Of all time.
In human history.
In human history, right here, right now. It's happening, Charlie. And
we're participating. We're witnessing.
A lot of misinformation going on out there. I have a personal X account, and I try to get on there and just kind of meander around and, share some information. And I don't have much of a following. I think a couple hundred people follow me, but it's really fascinating to see this absolute, just a bunch of, I'll just say the word grifters out there. People who are just pumping FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it is just absolutely amazing how many people have crawled out from under a rock and now they're in the market participating because it's going bananas. So I'll talk a little bit about that. We want to talk about the new CME futures contract for silver that came out. Typically, a futures contract is 5,000 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new super degenerate 100-ounce micro contract. We want to talk about some things that have happened with our administration, President Trump. We want
a lot of activity over the holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely.
The activity continues.
Yep. And the CPI was released. So we'll talk about all these themes, and hopefully we'll have a nice little catch-up video here from our recess while we were enjoying the holidays. And
how were your holidays, Kyle?
Very good. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Fantastic. What about you?
Wonderful time off.
So let's start off with this. There is a perceived shortage of physical silver And so I see a ton of commentary on this. Warning, silver shortage. Warning, all the silver is gone. I think I see people using the word unobtainium. My comments for that would be, while that may start to be, we may start to see cracks of that, like on the big 1,000-ounce silver bar market, especially considering there's this now wide arbitrage between the Shanghai price of silver in US dollars versus the Western market's price, the COMEX LBMA price. There might likely be a shortage starting to develop in the big 1,000-ounce silver bar market. Of course, metal is just kind of moving around, but more particularly, Charlie, the last I looked last night, there was, I think, a $10 to $12 difference in silver in Eastern markets versus Western markets. So what do we mean by that? There's way more demand for silver in the East than there is in the West, and I've never seen that wide of a spread before. $10 to $12 per ounce in dollars. Once we account for the currency conversion between Chinese currency and the dollar. So, but in the physical retail denominated market, there is a lot of speculation that there are shortages because dealer inventories, dealer websites, vendor websites go out of stock. And so what we have right now is this really interesting dynamic where supply is meeting demand. It's just that the human capital and logistical requirements to process all of this material, there's weeks of backlog material just waiting to get checked in amongst the collective group of market maker wholesalers. And so when you don't have enough staff to deal with this, we get backups. And so that's kind of what we're inside of right now.
So we've just had a lot of activity, a lot of volume, and the current piping hasn't been sufficient to maintain the massive flows that have been happening,
particularly for silver and platinum. Yeah, gold hasn't kind of really been affected too badly. We're more talking about physical silver retail denominated bullion products. 10-ounce bars, 100-ounce bars, kilo bars, 1-ounce rounds, 1-ounce bars, silver eagles, silver maple, silver Krugerrands, all this kind of stuff. So if there was a true shortage, a number of things would have to be true that simply aren't true. Specifically, retail-denominated bullion product premiums would be going absolutely ballistic here. They're not. They're actually very low relative to like their historical average for what some premiums are. We did a video recently on the bid-ask spread of some popular bullion products. I'd say the bid and the ask have both moved up a little bit, but if we want to talk about what that would look like inside of a real shortage, the last two times that we had real shortages in physical bullion products was during March 2020 and the COVID market slaughtering, when silver got absolutely brutalized down to $11 and change, and also during March 2023 when we had the collective group of bank failures, of course, infamously known and led by Silicon Valley Bank, it's Silvergate Bank, others. Those two moments in history, we saw actual physical retail denominated shortages. Premiums absolutely went ballistic. Silver Eagles were trading for $25 per ounce over spot price. We're nowhere near that right now. So the other thing that would have to be true is product scarcity. There's plenty of product. It's just delayed.
Kyle, isn't it interesting that just a few years ago, what was selling for $93 and change was selling for $11? Wow. That is incredible. When you were looking at that $11 price, were you in your mind, were you thinking about $100 silver?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
Nope.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking that silver was a very long time, very wound up, very well coiled spring, holding back a ton of energy with all of these factors that have kind of been overlooked in a way until they're not. And so that's what we're seeing. We are in live price discovery right now for physical silver. I think it's finally being recognized for what it really is, which is, we've talked about, material that the world relies on for how we live, how we operate, as a monetary asset, as an asset that one would turn to in times of, having the realization that there's really no way out of all of the stuff we've talked about: money printing, quantitative easing, debt and deficits, negative real interest rates, all this kind of stuff. So my opinion on what's happening right now with the silver market is kind of what I just spoke to. It's been a very long coiled spring, and there's just been enormous energy bottled up in this thing. And in 2025, that spring just snapped and just unleashed all of that built up energy. And
it's kind of like, what was the name of the ride at the Del Mar Fair where they pull down the little capsule that you strap yourself into, and then it's got this little pin at the bottom that holds it, and it's got hundreds of springs that, the cables run down through these pulleys, and then everyone's just sitting there in anticipation, and all of a sudden the pin pops and boom.
The slingshot ride, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody out there on X is probably going to make a video about that and put it as a meme.
Somebody should do that. Absolutely. Let's make that happen.
So, yeah, that's kind of what's going on with silver. I think going forward from here, the name of the game is volatility. As we're recording this, we were kind of talking earlier about when we might expect there to be some kind of correction or drawdown. $20, Charlie, per ounce in 14 days. That's really extreme.
Quite a lift. It is quite a lift.
Oh, it's never happened before.
We're going to have corrections. Like, what is your thought or anticipation or expectation as to the duration and maybe the nominal value that we'll have in the drawdown?
I think going forward, now that we're at these elevated prices, I think, 5 years ago, we would have been talking about a 50-cent move, a 75-cent move as being pretty volatile. Now we're talking, $5, $10 moves as being volatile. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going to see that a lot in both directions. I think that the $100 price target that I have for silver probably gets realized here pretty soon. I read this really interesting piece that TD Securities, there's this really interesting guy named Daniel Gawley, and he gets quoted on X all the time. He's like the silver guy at TD Securities in Canada. Last fall, he was putting out memos saying, we expect silver just to go absolutely ballistic. And he was right. And then they put on a short position, the first short position, and they got burned on it. And then they opened another one at like $72 or $74, I think. And this was put out in a Kitco article recently, and it was suggested that they had a $92 stop loss. Well, we were well over $92 today, so I wonder if that stop got hit again. But it's interesting because even these really big banks who were notoriously bullish on silver, switching their narrative to bearish and wanting to short the material down to like $40, I think. Even they're getting blown up right now with these big short positions. So I think it's signaling that there's more of a fundamental shift happening beyond what has been, what all investors of silver have been trained to know for decades now, which is everybody had this psychological $50 level, and it's like, oh, that's it. It's done with its run for another 30 years.
I mean, we could say investors across the board. I mean, the COVID phenomena, the money printing phenomena, is a unique one. We've never done this before. Our past experiences no longer hold valid as a roadmap for how to move forward. So, it's the Wild West.
I'd say that's a fair assessment, Charlie. Absolutely, it's the Wild West.
We are figuring out the roadmap as we move forward, one step at a time.
Right. So, yeah, going forward from here, I would expect there to be a lot of volatility going around in silver, a lot of volatility in platinum and gold, just kind of the whole commodities complex specific to precious metals. I think that as more time goes by, We had the CPI print come out recently. It's purported to be 2.6%, a little bit more of a tick down, which is increasing this expectation that the Fed funds rate will come down. And we have like this banana republic dynamic going on here too, Charlie. Fed Chair Powell, I think, was like under investigation or something.
Yeah.
Could you imagine this institution that's supposed to be independent and they're not doing what you want them to do? And so let's open up the, what is it called when the FBI open like a probe,
investigation.
I think? Yeah.
Well, someone said something recently about Trump, and they said, don't take him literally, take him seriously, which kind of means like, he's going to say a whole bunch of stuff, and that's not actually what he's going to do. It's kind of like, let's see what happens when I make this threat, or when I say that I'll do this or I won't do this. And then that gives him some feedback as to what he can and cannot actually move forward with, something like that. It was really interesting. So, this investigation is probably one of those temperature sensors, one of those probes sent out into outer space to, see what's out there right now.
I read something really interesting, and it was President Trump saying something like he's asserted himself as acting president of Venezuela for the time being, or something like that.
Sure.
And I looked at that and I went to myself, yeah, that's just rocket fuel for precious metals. That's all we need to know about that.
And so is this, this investigation into the costs of the remodel of the Federal Reserve building, which, by the way, went from something like 80 million to $2.5 billion or something like that. I guess they found some contaminated materials and, this and that, and, little fraud on the side, little juice bids here and there. Oh man.
That building is called the Mariner Eccles building, and Mariner Eccles was a Fed chair back in I don't know if it's the 20s or the 30s, but the building was named after him. It was built in the Great Depression, so it's very old. Massive, I think it's limestone blocks, just very remarkable structure, right? So there's probably a lot to go through in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to the shortage thing for just a minute. We talk about what we would say is that there's not really a shortage of these physical silver retail denominated products, but more of a delay in processing them. There's a ton of people, Charlie, who have been in the silver market for decades, and they might want to start reaping a little bit of their tenacity by sticking around this long and selling their material. My expectation would be that there will be a ton of material coming back into the market at these higher prices. And I'm not quite sure what the demand might look like from the physical retail denominated side at these higher prices. I know there's a lot of people out there waiting in the weeds for some kind of big correction. Hasn't really come yet. But right now what I observe is definitely supply meeting demand with a big delay in the middle. And it's really important to note that at any time, like has happened twice before, at any time, the physical retail denominated supply of bullion products can just get wiped out. And we will know when we're there. One of the biggest tells you'll be able to figure this out with is just looking at the premium. If we see a Silver Eagle coin with a 2 handle for the product premium, that will probably be a very good indication that we are in a real physical shortage of silver products. When you go to make a purchase or a trade and you can't buy the product, it's just out of stock, it's not available even with a delay, that will be the second tell that there is a real product shortage going on. But what's going on that I've noticed too is that there's a lot of really niche products that are out of stock. For example, we might carry, or anybody else might carry, 10 different SKUs for a silver kilo bar. All that product, instead of getting sold back out as the, Valcambi bar or the IGR bar or pick your manufacturer, right? It's all just getting lumped into the secondary market SKUs because the collective group of wholesale market makers can't process this stuff quick enough. So there's no sorting going on. which just kind of adds to the perception when you visit someone's website. Oh, it's all the products are gone. Well, they're there, but they're just kind of being lumped together into more of a broadened skew.
I imagine it's a way to create some efficiency to counteract the need for some more infrastructure to process this material in and out.
Yeah. The principal wholesaler that we work intimately with for Bullion Standard Pro members, Charlie, I've never seen them as swamped as they are. Just absolutely historic, more business than they can handle. So this is it. This is the absolute top of the food chain, the wholesale market makers, the ones who are setting the price and making the market, all this stuff. Billions of dollars of depth and liquidity for all the various products.
The floodgates of demand have been opened wide.
I'm keeping my finger on the pulse for a real shortage. I absolutely think that will happen at some point in the future. We just need the right event, and it's usually a fear buyer event where, like, perfect example, COVID. Perfect example, bank failures. Oh, it's so prime. Total fear-based event. Like, so prime to just get all the inventory just wiped out. But then it comes back. It does come back. It just takes time. And I see that being the case with these higher prices. I see people wanting to take advantage of it. It's an interesting market to be in when everybody who's a participant in the market is sitting on massive gains. Like, nobody's like in the red right now, really, because the prices are at all-time highs.
I think there's so much exuberance around hedging for inflation and the excitement of seeing rapidly rising prices. I think that the exuberance will not wear off, and I think that corrections will be bought. I don't think it's going to be I don't think there will be very many super deep corrections unless something other than unless some black swan event happens.
That's my thought. I think there would have to be a black swan to really,
which is always a possibility.
Yeah, and we have no idea what that would be, right? Like, given all the interest and demand out of the East, which has been a huge driver for this move, if they kind of tamper down their interest and their appetite for these commodities, I could see that being a huge catalyst.
I just want to add in there, I'm going to throw in an oddball comment here and break up the conversation, but I did see that Tesla opened up a lithium factory either yesterday or today, and they've got some really great new technology, and they're just like doing a fine job of bringing on lithium production like pretty rapidly here. I mean, they built this thing out. I think it's down in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I saw a couple videos, and it's really interesting to see the reshoring of refining for lithium. Like, amazing, absolutely amazing.
For lithium specifically in the broader commodities complex, it hasn't really been in shortage. There's just a bottleneck of refining capabilities for it. So if that kind of alleviates that a little bit, then that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, what's next, Kyle? What else is there to update everyone on?
Well, we'll update everybody about how it's been going for us at Bullion Standard. Absolutely earth-shattering, just record-breaking volumes across the board. Like I mentioned, it's been all hands on deck. We are in a processing delay right now. So if you're ordering from us, or if you're ordering pretty much from anybody in the industry, you could expect a little bit of a processing delay right now, even after one business day of cleared payment. So thank you for your patience. This is just kind of the trend right now. I don't see that alleviating anytime soon. I actually see it worsening if we continue to see more volatility in either direction. So that would be a little bit of update for everybody out there on how we're doing. It's just been absolutely historic. Just in terms of the ordering volumes, right? How many orders are coming in, the size of the orders, more interest, even very low or even consumers who are buying like a coin or two, tons of that kind of stuff. So a lot of new entrants coming into the market. This is not surprising to me. I want to go back to the thought of this really interesting statistic. We've brought it up a lot. We're going to bring it up again. If you have never heard this before, it's really fascinating. It puts it into perspective, kind of where we're at. I don't know what the updated take on this is, but I'm going to share the take as of February 2025. The purported 40-year mean allocation to the precious metals complex, so mining stocks, physical trusts, bullion, ETFs, relative to all U.S. savings and investment assets. There's two sources of this statistic. One is the Commodities Trade Desk at J.P. Morgan. Rick Rule talks about this a lot. The other is another research house, CPM Group, who we could solicit and get an updated take on this. The 40-year mean allocation to precious metals and related securities is purported to be between 1.5% and 2%. Going back prior to February 2025, that number fluctuated between 1/3 and 1/2 of 1%. So to put it in perspective, to get back to that mean allocation across the board as a whole, as of February 2025, gold demand, precious metals demand would need to somewhere between triple and quadruple. That in and of itself should tell you where we were at. With this meteoric rise, Charlie, I suspect that number is probably above 2%, probably above the 40-year mean now.
Oh, really?
We're going to get an updated take on this next month in February 2026, and I kind of want to do like a whole video just on this one statistic because I find it so fascinating, and it really puts it into perspective where we're at, where this is going. Side note, in the 1980 blow-off top precious metals bull market, it was purported that the allocation was between 6 and 8% of all savings and investment assets. I have a belief that this cycle, this precious metals bull market cycle we're in right now, we're going to just absolutely blow through, just annihilate through that, 2%, 6, 8%. Why is this? Because, well, we just had a little bit of guidance come out by Morgan Stanley. We did an episode on this, the 60-20-20 portfolio in favor of the 60-40 portfolio.
Well, we're also, on the heels of a lot of global volatility. We've got action that's come out of Venezuela. We've got, we've got some really tragic news coming out of Iran. Protesters getting killed, and we're talking about taking over Greenland. There's just all this stuff happening, and this is fourth turning stuff. This is the kind of thing that is the new world order type stuff. So that's just, again, like what you said, it's just pouring gasoline on the fire. So I understand. I believe you.
the rocket fuel of Trump sitting as acting president of Venezuela. I declare myself the sitting president of Venezuela. Yeah, that is a firecracker of fuel for the whole metals complex. So, what can we do? What can we do about this, Charlie? Well, we're doing everything. What can you do about this at home? You're probably doing it. You probably own precious metals. That's what you can do about it. That's it. How do you remove yourself a little bit from the system? That's what it's all about. How do you live outside of the system a little bit? I can't think of a better way other than just owning some bullion. That's it. You are outside of the system. You're not participating in the system for that position you have in precious metals.
Yeah, be able to weather the storm. When there's a storm, you can batten down the hatches and ride it out.
Yeah, that's kind of the high-level update. We're going to get back on the content train here. We had a little bit of a hiatus. I kind of wish we didn't do that, but we're on it, and we're going to be sharing updates. We're going to have some new content styles coming out. And I just want to say the thought of silver going over $100. I mean, like I mentioned, right now it's $87 about. So this is in the evening, and Earlier today, it was like $92, $93. And so it's a pretty gnarly drawdown in like a couple hour time period here. But I wouldn't have expected it to go up this much this quickly. And, like on a video we did last year, I said, oh, this price target of triple digit number seems pretty realizable. I think that's going to happen like anytime now. And when we get there, what happens from there? There are people saying, oh, it's $3,000 silver now.
Oh, no.
$3,000 silver.
I've got my popcorn and my soda, and I'm just waiting for the movie to start. I'm so curious how 2026 will go. I can't wait to be in this position in 1 year from now and just look back and just say, wow, catch my breath and just say, wow, it's going to be quite a show.
It's been breathtaking. Charlie, are there any wrap-up thoughts for this episode that you would like to share with our viewers, subscribers, customers, Bullion Standard Pro members?
I started collecting the 2026 quotes. I could pull something from there, Kyle.
All right, throw us a quote, Charlie. Come on.
Okay, here's something interesting. We've got the political draw for socialism for some people, and we've got this new law in California. Apparently, it's the billionaire tax. We're trying to do universal 5% rent increase caps in the residential sector. And someone said, I can't remember who it was, but it was something about, I'm okay with billionaires because if we don't allow them to be billionaires, then they end up being warlords. And it's like, you've got people that are out there and they're highly, highly active, intelligent, and they're just driven hard. They're unique. We need people like this performing and creating and generating. So it was an interesting thought. It's like, oh yeah, the people that are billionaires are a unique breed, and there's luck involved. There's all these different things involved, but it was quite a comment. So that made the 2026 quote. Here's another one. Ready? There is a sharp viciousness in ingratitude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we always talk about, find some gratitude, find a way to be grateful for what you have. This one may not be in here, but there's another one. I think Socrates said it. He who is not contented with what he has will not be contented with what he wants. So
I could see that. That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, we'll top that 2026 quote collection off at the end of the year and file it away and start a new one in 2027. But the lessons of the past are no matter what happens, try and find something to appreciate. What you appreciate appreciates, and keep figuring out how to take care of yourself as much as you can, and keep figuring out how you can, get that oxygen mask on when you need it, so that way you can help someone else out too.
I love that one. Yeah. If you can't help yourself, how can you help somebody else?
That's right.
You can't secure your oxygen mask and get it flowing first. How would you be able to put it on somebody else?
It is critical that you do the best you can to take care of your well-being. It is not just critical for yourself. It's critical because everyone goes through something, Kyle, where they need some help. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're missing your opportunity to help someone. And that someone might just be you. So it's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the first 2026 episode here at bullionstandard.com. We sincerely appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for viewing this. If you found this episode useful, helpful, or informative, we would sincerely appreciate it if you would drop a like, a comment. Maybe somebody you know might get some interest out of the video. If you would like to share it with somebody you know, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Remember, every ounce matters, and so does every insight. Remember to stay informed, stay committed to growth, and hold your Bullion Standard very high.